cracked him upon the head with it. And as the helmsman flopped over the ship's wheel, now the stories I tell you tonight are, as far as I can work out, true. Friends, upon the headland behind me is the Roman signal station, a Roman fort where for 400 years or thereabouts Roman soldiers signalled out to seafarers coming from Gaul or Germania. And after the Roman soldiers left in the early 5th century, the land was plunged into chaos. They've been heard even while this castle itself was occupied in medieval times. The galloping of horses, and the garrison would lie here at night and hear those horses gallop. You'd probably end up on the rocks dead. Middle of the 18th century, a ship in Whitby, just beyond in fact, a ship called the Lady Lovibond. Now that ship was owned by its captain, owned his own ship, unusual in those days. The first mate took a belaying pin, a large metal club, and he went up behind the helmsman, cracked him upon the head with it. And as the helmsman flopped over the ship's wheel, he beat him again and broke his skull clean open, stone dead upon the deck. Now, the Lady Lovibond began to yaw and pitch and roll as the rudder got taken by the swell. And then the first mate cut the ropes to the mainsail. Now the sail began to flap wildly, out of control, and the ship began to turn towards the rocks. Guarding this very spot, the artillery saw the Lovibond out at sea. Now we were at war with revolutionary France, and they believed they were seeing a French vessel, but she carried no flag of a nation. They put a shot out against her. She did not respond, and then she just vanished as they watched. 50 years after that, in Queen Victoria's time, the lifeboat was called out to the Lovibond as they saw her smashed upon the rocks. And when the lifeboatmen, risking their life to get out there, got to the site where they had seen the ship, there was no floating wood, there was no bodies in the water. It was as if about her flapping mainsail. And nobody saw her in 1998. Was done, the officers said, "Will you dine with us?" And the young officer of the Royal Navy said, "Indeed I would." And he sat in the officers' mess, and the orderlies brought round a glass of wine, and they put the wine down in front of him, and just as he went to reach for it, the wine glass shattered. Everybody loved Drury, apart from one man. Every village and town has a man like this who just wants to get involved. And this man's name was Mr. Mompesson, and he lived in a grand house on the outskirts of the village, a fine house with many rooms and wooden boarding on the outside of the walls. And Mr. Mompesson thought the beggar made the place look scruffy. So he went to the constable and he said, "Constable, go and check the beggar's pass. Go and check his license." For in those days, to be a beggar, you had to have a license signed by 2 local judges. He said, "I thought so. I know these men, and that is not their signature. That is not their handwriting. This is a forgery. Throw him in prison." Now the old beggar hadn't done anybody any harm, but he was thrown into jail in Gloucester. And they put him in a cart with a cage upon the back, and as they drove him away, he said, "You can do what you like to me. I've been in and out of prison these last 15 years, but don't take away my drum." My drum has been... Mompesson laughed and said, "You are in no position to dictate to me. You're my prisoner. Go to prison. Constable, have his drum brought round to my house. My children may play with it." Well, they took Drury away, sure enough. Dragged him away in the wagon. And the drum got brought round to Mompesson's house. This went on for 3 nights, the banging, but it became more rhythmic. And then once 3 days had passed, it went within the house and stayed within. Mompesson once again heard the rushing of air, the beating of wings, something settling upon the ridge of the great house. And now, the banging, now rhythmic thumping. Somebody was setting some kind of elaborate trap done with candles and mirrors and lights. So they would check the dining room. So they took ash from the fire, thinking that in the night somebody perhaps was sneaking in and setting these little notions up that would be found in the morning, and people would say, "Oh, that was not there before." So they took ash from the fire and they sprinkled it all over the polished oak floorboards. Remember what I said? Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. There's ships out there and elves all around us. You can see only if you have the right eyes and the right ears. Good night to you, my friends.